Hey everybody, what's going on? Coach William Grazione here, owner of The Educated Dieter, and in today's video I'm bringing you the 5 most valuable tips you need during your next reverse diet. And the number one thing is going to be making sure you can add carbohydrates back into the diet safely, not forcing them to become insulin resistant. So a general rule of thumb that we like to recommend is go ahead and add in between 50 to 100% of their low day carbohydrate intake. So just as an example, maybe you're somebody that's on low carbohydrates right now, say around 100 grams. I think it's a good idea to add in, maybe start with about 50 extra grams specifically on training days or every day and see how the body responds to that. It's absolutely necessary to begin to add carbohydrates back in after a fat loss phase because the power of glucose begins to re-stimulate the metabolism, and it allows the thyroid to come back, it allows the sex hormones to come back, and it actually allows your stress to reduce because carbohydrates stimulate something very powerful called GABA and serotonin, as well as reduce cortisol and remove you out of a sympathetic dominant, which is a fight or flight state response. So carbohydrates are essential in making sure you can transition out of a fat loss phase or begin to transition out of your next competition preparation journey. And the number 2 thing that you want to consider is you want to reduce training intensity, volume, and frequency. Okay, so we'll go ahead and we'll start with frequency first. What do I typically do transitioning somebody out of having a very intense fat loss phase? Maybe it's a competition preparation, or just maybe you're trying to get lean for a photo shoot, or maybe you're trying to get lean for the beach. So the first thing you would want to do is reduce frequency. What that means is maybe you're somebody that's training 5 days per week. Maybe you're somebody that's training 4 days per week, or maybe you're part of that hashtag team no days off. Either way, you want to reduce training frequency. If you're doing 5 days, consider tapering that back down to 3 or 4 days. If you're doing maybe 6 days, taper that back down to 4 days, something like that. Just make sure that the overall frequency is reduced, because in order to start to lower cortisol, we have to take stress off the body. The second thing you want to consider is the overall training volume. Now, as a general rule of recommendation, what I like to do is cut training volume in half. So as an example, if I have a client doing 3 sets of 10, which is 30 total repetitions, I'll actually cut that in half to 15 total reps, 14 to 15 total reps, okay? So if they were doing 3 sets of 10, I'll scratch that and I'll do 2 sets of 7, okay? Now, the last thing is intensity. Now, if somebody's doing 3 sets of 10, you could pretty much guarantee that that 10th rep is going to be very, very challenging, okay? Because individuals are trying to progressive overload. They're trying to take sets close to failure to build more muscle, to provide the stimulus for growth. However, during a recovery phase, we want to take that back to maybe about a 7 to an 8 level RPE, and that would be meaning that you have about 2 to 3 reps possibly left in the tank. Now, why would you ever want to do this? You would want to do this because not every single season of the year are you capable of pushing your body 100%, especially if you're a natural athlete, somebody looking to try to build muscle naturally. You're going to need these small phases of pushing and recovering in order to 100% be able to optimize your ability to build muscle over the course of time. So the number 2 thing is backing off of training intensity. All right, and the number 3 thing is going to be making sure that you are supporting the hormones that have been negatively influenced by metabolic adaptation. So in a post that I just made on Instagram yesterday, you can go ahead, you can go to Instagram, you can check that out, find me right here, William_Grazione. I talk about this and I actually provide you some images of supplements that I like to use. Now, the whole purpose of this, as you can see here on my iPad, actually, I'll just go ahead and show you guys. Here's what the post looks like, right? You would want to support your thyroid hormone T3, you would want to support testosterone, and you would also want to support cortisol or stress levels in the body. Now, I do recommend certain supplementation, and if you guys have any questions about what supplements I do recommend, you can go ahead and leave them in the comment section. Now, if you're somebody who wants to take it to the next level, you could then discuss the opportunity with your coach of potentially getting blood work to see what gaps you need to fill. Because I'm not somebody that's all for just throwing supplements at somebody. I would rather see where's that body deficient in what vitamins, minerals, and what supplements they need to be able to support their current physiology, not just throwing supplements at somebody because I don't know. You have no reason to. I would rather take a look at the lab work and say, okay, if progesterone is low, we know that the individual is stressed out. We can support that. If testosterone is low, we know that we can support that. If thyroid hormone is low, or you have very high reverse T3, the unusable thyroid hormone, we know stress is high, then we know how to support that. But either way, you want to consider herbal supplementation after a fat loss phase, because we want to get these things back cranking as fast as possible. Research actually shows that even though some individuals would reverse diet perfectly, after 4 months of reverse dieting, some of the hormones, specifically testosterone and T3, still had not returned back to pre-diet levels where they were at baseline, okay? So something very important to consider. Number 4 thing, and one of the biggest mistakes that I see a lot of nutrition coaches make, is that they reverse diet people into insulin resistance, meaning that they're so aggressive with adding calories back in, literally saying, okay, you're dieting on 1,300 calories, go ahead and bump them up to 2,000 or 2,200 or 2,500 or whatever it is, and they're not actually checking blood glucose. You need to be checking your blood sugar so you can see how many carbohydrates, how much blood sugar is actually circulating in your physiology, so you can make sure that your body's staying insulin sensitive. Now, as a general rule of thumb, I do recommend a blood sugar level between 75 and 90. Some individuals that are 90, they're going to be more like people like me that are more genetically predispositioned to have more body fat, and individuals that can maintain like a 75, 80, 85. These are typically more classic ectomorphic individuals that just have a great carbohydrate metabolism. But in many cases, the larger you are, or I guess the worse off your genetics are, the harder it will be to maintain insulin sensitivity, but it's still possible. So rule number 4 is going to be make sure that even though you're reverse dieting, you're tracking your blood sugar and you're staying insulin sensitive. All right, and number 5 is going to be for all the ladies out there that have just got done with their competition preparation, or they've gotten done with the fat loss phase. Now, I talked about this a little bit, about the hormones, previously in the video. I think that was number 3. Talked about the hormones, but I didn't talk about the specific female hormones. The ones you really have to pay really close attention to for all the ladies out there is going to be estrogen and progesterone, okay? Estrogen typically lowers during a fat loss phase, but you can also become relative estrogen dominant because your calming hormone progesterone will lower when stress is high. So what I want you all to think about is that when stress goes up, progesterone goes down. Now that progesterone going down can lead to relative estrogen dominance, which will make it harder for you to continuously lose body fat, or it could also make it easier for you to gain more body fat after the diet is over with. Higher levels of estrogen typically follow body fat. So this is something that you would want to be mindful of, and that's a tip for all the ladies out there. So you would want to support estrogen, and you would also want to support progesterone. All right, and I want to conclude this video simply by saying nutrition coaching is more than just adjusting somebody's macros. You really do need to take a deeper look in some of these cases, because the reality of the situation is that individuals are becoming much more educated nowadays, and you have to understand the internal physiology and what's actually happening to that person. So after you're done with the fat loss phase, you need to consider everything that I talked about in this video, because if you don't, I would hate to see you end up in a position where you are insulin resistant, maybe you've gained back a lot more fat than you wanted to, and you're not really in control of your overall health. So if you're gonna put yourself in a position to lose body fat, to take it there, to do all that cardio, to do all that dieting, to make the before and after, you should probably investigate and have a clear exit strategy on what you're going to do afterwards. Investigate the science, investigate the literature, learn more about yourself, pay attention to the biofeedback that's happening inside of your body, because if you do, I can guarantee you chances are you'll be able to sustain a close to your end goal level of leanness. Now, I don't recommend anybody maintaining stage level leanness or even photo shoot level leanness unless you're genetically predispositioned to be able to maintain a nice six-pack year-round. But for the majority of people, I think men can maintain anywhere between 10 and 12% body fat, while on the other side of that, I think many women could probably maintain somewhere between 16 and 20% body fat and still be very hormonally healthy and balanced. I hope you guys found a lot of value in this video. If you did, go ahead and leave me a comment down below, and if you want, you can go ahead and holler at me on my Instagram. right here. It's at William_Grazione, and I'll make sure that I can answer your question in my next YouTube video. Thank you so much. God bless you, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.